from the personal journal of Quelvin Gibbler, third quarter counselor of the new Qualian hegemony. Good evening, Journal. I hope you're well. I have done something foolish. I have just returned from an expedition which I have kept secret from my fellows on the Hegemonic Council. Well, let me start at the beginning. In the legends of the Old Empire, the legends of the god Emperor Quay who raised us up from dirt, there are two angels. They stand at Quay's shoulders, blazing with light and striking down all who oppose him with the fury of shackled suns. They are silent always, but their image is forever burned into the eyes of all who behold them. I had thought that we, the hegemony, might do well to seek out an angel of our own, not for the smiting of our enemies, but as a rallying point for our people who, I must confess, have not exactly been flocking to our new homeworld. And so I found my way to Roibos, the world where Quay supposedly gathered the material from which his angels were made. The planet was exactly as blasted and barren as I expected, but its people were the exact opposite. The Roibans greeted me with open tentacles, their horns aglow with joy and kind-hearted acceptance. Though there were superficial resemblances, it was instantly clear that these peaceful people were nothing like the angels of legend. Quay's angels were the unique work of his own hands. I stayed with the Roibans for several days. They treated me to wondrous displays of their luminous art, of synesthetic music writ in rainbows and auroras, and to a charming tea they brew only for visitors, having themselves no mouths with which to quaff it. I left them, my nerves calmed, but my heart heavy. My quest to find an angel was pure foolishness, born of desperation, a betrayal of the principles on which the hegemony was founded those several months ago. We swore to ourselves that we would never look backwards. We swore to put the empire behind us. That life was servitude and suffering, and we must fight the impulse to look back on it with nostalgia. The old days were filled with blood and madness and pain. We should be forever thankful that when the empire burned, Quay's monstrous angels accompanied him straight to hell.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Chimera. This is a role-playing adventure show where a group of college friends and longtime campaign collaborators get back in the saddle. I'm Casey Smith, and I'm playing Molly Harrow, a human technophile and gadgeteer. Right now, our campaign is The Old Bones, where our cast is a multi-species group of misfits crewing a mysterious starship in a good lord. Right now, our campaign is The Old Bones, where our cast is a multi-species group of misfits crewing a mysterious starship in a near-future superhero space opera. We're playing with a pre-release version of the StoryPath system that will be powering Onyx Path's Trinity Continuum games, which we've bent and folded to cover the gaps. Joining me today are...
Braden Lamb, playing as Dang, the bodyguard, light-eating and laser-blasting space rhino.
I am Jeffrey Bard. I play Rolef, a galactic lawyer who pilots maybe sentient men? We're not sure yet.
I'm Joshua Bachner. I'm the GM for this particular campaign.
I'm Kelly Weissman Asperth Jackson, and I portray Theron Melanthios, a heretical catman.
I'm Vin LeBate, and I am playing Cidra, a living financial instrument. I think that was all of us.
That's all of us.
I think all of us.
Okay. So, plan of attack.
Throw melons out of the Chimera. Profit.
Isn't there supposed to be a step 2?
Not in this case. We always go directly to profit.
That's how beautiful the plan is.
Yeah.
If you don't have the step 2, then you don't have to have the question marks. It's just really straightforward. You go right to profit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I can just skip step 1, too.
Ah.
Oh, that's true.
I started at profit.
So so you brought Therma along with you, and you're kind of, I assume you're basically just going to kind of start skimming the desert looking for the tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems like a plan.
I think the easiest way to drop bombs from the Chimera is to hang out in the lion, right? Because you can basically instruct the lion to open a hole in the floor.
Yep.
Good thinking there.
Yeah, surprisingly effective as a bomber, isn't it?
Like it was designed for that or something.
It even grows its own bombs.
Yeah.
Right. This is very efficient.
Keeps it all in the family.
This
Also,
bizarre...
Also, if
bizarre?
Dang's going to get in on this...
I didn't. I was trying to say this bizarre plan came together really easily. But bizarre is an actual accurate statement.
Yeah. Honestly, bizarre plan-wise, I feel like this is even a little below the median for this particular group.
Well, the weirdness is mostly that we already had all the parts.
Okay. So, so
probably,
you guys start...
Oh, I was going to say, like, probably Theron and Dang and Therma are probably hanging out in roughly the same area as the bombs are being dropped in order to have line of sight for shooting these things.
Okay, so you guys are all chilling in the lion.
It might make sense for someone to actually man the weapons.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Theron's gun is not actually good at long range.
What's everybody's aim ability, by the way?
Oh, I took one last time.
Mine's pretty decent.
And how many melons do we have to work with?
I think that melons are plentiful. I also think we don't particularly have to aim them. That's sort of their point, is that they're lures.
Oh.
I mean, you rolled 5 successes, so I guess, let's say, I don't know, 10 melons?
Cool.
Because the limiting factor is obviously not the melons. The limiting factor is the stuff that you're injecting into them. So
Right.
So you guys are kind of flying around. It's a little bit slow going. There's a lot of empty, boring desert. And you're kind of going over all of it, looking for signs of this. You see a number of the smaller desolators, but, they're not your target here, so you kind of pass them by. It's probably a few hours into the process when you first get your hit. You basically see something dark start to kind of wisp over the horizon, far off to one side. So at that point, you kind of turn, fly the ship in that direction. And as you get closer, the form of this thing starts to become a little clearer. So, as you head in towards it, you see it's almost like a kind of a pillar of smoke. Its form is a little bit even less coherent than the smaller desolators that you've seen. It doesn't seem to have a ton of defined shape. It really is kind of pulling together. There's like the hints of things that could kind of be limbs, but it's mostly just a big swirling dark mass. It stands at least 140 feet tall, probably 30 feet across in diameter, and it's kind of rolling across the sand, sort of like you'd think of like a whirlwind or something.
We're gonna need a bigger melon.
There's a big pack of maybe 8 or 9 of the smaller ones, kind of wolf running around it, basically.
Okay.
So I think the melons are probably most useful on the lesser desolators, right? Because unless we want to try to really fly over the tower and drop them from a greater height onto it.
Well, we just need to get it pulled in. If this thing's sort of swirling, it might even suck it up. We might not have to get on top of it.
Okay.
But I definitely think trying it out on one of the smaller ones is probably the way to go as far as seeing exactly how it works and what it does. Sorry, Dang, were you trying to say something?
Oh yeah, trying it out on the smaller ones at least will eliminate one of the targets, one of the threats, if it works.
So it's time to fire a test melon.
Yep.
So you guys are flying over towards it to kind of strafe it with a melon drop.
Yeah.
As you're kind of heading over, Therma is kind of looking out at it, and she just goes, "It's taller than we remembered."
It's taller than I imagined.
It's pretty tall.
It's kind of its thing, isn't it?
So who's actually kind of controlling this process then?
Who wants to do the honors of actually throwing this thing?
I mean, I do have a whole lot of aim and marksman.
Yeah, Dang's a pretty
I
good
think
shot.
it's hilarious if the tentacle armed rhino is in charge of melon dropping. I think that's the funniest choice.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to I feel like I've got to give you a penalty for this because I don't think those arms are suited to melon chucking. So let's
to
it's like a catapult.
Activity.
He's like a pumpkin chunker.
I feel like it has to look like when someone is bowling with two hands, like between the legs.
No, so here's how I'm hoping it'll work. He'll hold the melon close to his chest, like sort of clutching it between his shoulders, and then sort of unfurl both tentacles so that it rolls down like a gutter, and
nice.
Adjusting as it rolls.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, let's get an aim roll at -2.
Okay. What was it? Fin and aim. Okay.
That really doesn't sound good.
Botch.
Oh my god, really?
Ooh.
I got one 8 and 2 1s.
No, that's not a botch. You're okay.
Yeah, the ones don't subtract.
You just have to get no successes.
You are just.
Oh, except I had no success. I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought they subtracted from. Okay.
One's used to subtract in the old world of darkness.
Yeah, there's been 4 versions of the system, and how the botches work is different in every single one of them. So. Okay, so you. So
with that amazing 1 success.
Yep. So you barely made that. So. So you kind of roll it out. You see the melon kind of swoop off on this angle. Therma kind of leans down, and it's hard to tell, but it certainly seems like they're making what might be a little bit of a disapproving face. And you see the melon arc through the space, and then basically land right just immediately next to one of the ones on the edge of the pack. So remind me again exactly what you're expecting the effect here to be.
So the expected effect is that the nanites that normally form the decimator no longer can work coherently together and don't recognize each other as part of a whole that's attacking something else. So that, I mean, I guess Molly's expectation would be in that case they just sort of start going after each other.
Okay. So it explodes, and you basically get this electrified melon innards kind of bursts out. So there's these pieces of kind of glowing melon that explode out in a way that kind of pass right through the nearest desolator, and you can see it kind of decohere right around everywhere that it hits. So that one kind of drops to the ground almost and half deconstitutes. All the other ones keep moving, but it seems kind of messed up. So
okay.
Sorry guys, I didn't train at this melon chucking offense.
I wonder if we rig up a slingshot, if that might work better for him. Then he just has to pull back and let go. He doesn't have to. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'll real quick go find some vines.
I can do that.
The stretchy ones.
Okay, so you're going to go find vines?
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm going to grab a knife from the kitchen and go and hack down some vines, I suppose.
Okay.
Dang lights a small flame on the end of his tentacle that signifies a thumbs up.
Nice. So you chuck that down, it explodes, it takes out the one. So the plus side is you've now verified that these melons can be used successfully against these guys. The downside is that you seem to have gotten the attention of the tower. And it is not really interested in what you guys have to say. So who is actually piloting, handling the driving of the Chimera right now? Is it Molly?
It's probably me, unless Molly wants to.
I think she'd rather kind of oversee the launching of the melons at the moment. So, yeah, I think Rowleth piloting makes good sense.
Okay, so you kind of get the tower's attention, and it almost immediately, basically one of these, like I mentioned, parts of the smoke are kind of thicker. So something kind of like an arm, basically, kind of swings up from the side to swat at the Chimera. So,
oh, no, you don't.
So, Jeff, give me a roll a pilot roll here.
Okay. Is this a physical control roll or a mental control roll? It doesn't really matter, so I'm going to roll the same.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a 5 on that.
Okay.
2 10s and 7.
Okay, so you see this coming, and you bank, basically hard to one side. Everybody feels the kind of gravity shift as you make this strong move. It's fast. You don't manage to get completely outside of its reach, and it manages to claw across one side.
No.
And the second that happens, you hear this, like, horrible screeching, like the worst imaginable, loudest possible nails on a chalkboard is the sound of this thing scraping across the outside, and it just kind of reverberates through the entire Chimera, basically leaving these kind of big grooves on the side in the spot that it's hit.
Oh, no. Not cool.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
So I'm down in the snake.
Mm-hmm.
And I am jacked into the psychotropic fever dream weapons control system.
Oh yeah, so let's get a visual on like what you're actually seeing with that.
Yeah, so down in the snake, it's this damp, sweaty pit at the bottom of the ship, and I'm in this sort of mildly gooey armchair thing, and there's a little tendril with fangs that's plugged into my arm, and so I'm seeing. I think we didn't get deep into what the visual is like. If you want to just like shoot from the hip on this, I would say probably it's some version of being in a three-dimensional space that where my perception is where the ship is in real space. It's probably not the same as my normal vision. I figure it's probably got some indicators of things like enemy and friendly combatants and probably some EM stuff, whatever sensors are most relevant to the ship's information. There's probably some kind of telescoping function because Theron's eyes are good, but they're not as good as you would need for interstellar combat.
So I'm figuring this kind of looks like a mix between like the Predator vision and the Terminator vision then?
Yep, that sounds good.
Kind of like colors and kind of alternate spectra rather than normal visible, but like with certain kinds of like digital readout indicators on certain things saying what they are and vital information about them.
Yeah, the Predator vision, I think, is a good analogy because it's not exactly heat vision. It's something other than, it's like some kind of other, maybe EM wavelength or something else made up. If there's something in particular about the tower that would be different under this vision, do you think?
It's just going to be really bright. You're going to get kind of a similar sensation to what Molly and Dan got when they looked at it earlier.
Sorry, this is kind of a side question. Not sure if it's for Kelly or for Josh, but how does being jacked into the snake influence Emperos?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
That is a good question.
We've been a little bit ambivalent about how who is in charge of Emporos, whether it's me or it's Josh. So I actually prefer Josh to answer the question personally. But
yeah, so I actually know this. Mm-hmm. So what happens? And you've been in here before, so you're very familiar with this. But like basically what the shot is here is that we kind of see that whole thing lay itself out, and we get the sense of like what the vision looks like. Then we kind of pan up into the sky where we see kind of like the laser outline of the Chimera itself, and then Theron standing there, kind of indicating like that this is what he's kind of digitally controlling here. Mm-hmm. And then we just see Emporos as if he had a total physical form, totally normal, just kind of sidle up and like put one crustacean-y claw over Theron's shoulders. And he's just kind of chilling there with you as you do this. And he's just there. He's just there.
Just my buddy Emporos,
Yep.
Just hanging out.
Yep.
Like you do.
Yep.
So we've established that the Chimera has armaments. That's the whole point of the snake, but we've never established what they are. So do we care? Am I just going to make some stuff up? What do we want to do here?
Yeah, I think we're just going to make some stuff up.
All right.
Yeah.
So
let's get a roll first.
Yeah, sure. This is going to be aim, I assume.
Yeah.
So is this a physical aiming?
I don't think so, because you're controlling the ship.
Yeah, I'm controlling the ship. Okay. 5 successes.
Okay, doke. So tell me what happens then. You've got a hit. So
yeah. So I think there's probably 3 different weapon systems on the ship. I think there's a weapon system for each of the 3 dimensions of the ship. So I think this initial shot will just be a straightforward energy blast initiating from the lion. Like from the lion comes to sort of a point, right? So there's just a straight up energy beam cuts into the tower from the front prow of the lion.
Okay. So yeah, energy beam comes off the ship. I think it kind of sweeps across.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually see this beam of light kind of cut through the tower, kind of like actual smoke comes up from the spots that it's hitting as opposed to the like nanite smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of a brief moment where it's like separated out, almost like it's kind of almost like it's 2 parts as the 2 kind of then rejoin behind it, but it kind of wobbles a little and it looks like a little attenuated there. So, it's got the ability to pull itself back together, but it's clear that like you've knocked a swath of it out here.
All right.
Basically.
Great.
Okay. Who else has an action here before we move on to the next piece?
I guess I'm hunting for vines.
Okay. I mean, we have a food jungle, so like you can find vines. Like it'll take a turn or so, but I don't think it'd take longer than that.
Yeah, there's probably a shot of Cidra entering the food jungle, pausing to realize that the concept of looking for vines to make Dang a slingshot to hurl melons is ridiculous, and then realizing that she doesn't particularly have a better plan and getting to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're in there with like a machete chopping down vines to make a melon slingshot.
This is not my field.
Okay, so you're doing that. What is Ralith? Ralith is flying the ship, right?
Yeah. He's hanging out in the lion because I think that's where the controls are.
Yeah, and that's also where we're dropping the melons.
So what's your kind of plan for given what just happened? Like, what are you going to do in terms of piloting the ship?
Because I'm a daredevil and I like to live life on the edge, I think that I'm going to try to keep the Chimera kind of within its boxing range. So, like, I just got hit by its claw, right? So instead of retreating from that, I'm going to kind of double down and go try to get inside that reach so he can't really, maneuver.
Okay.
As that's what I'm going to try to do.
Okay. Yeah, let's get a pilot roll for that.
We've got 3 successes on that.
Okay. So that's, so you're able to position yourself. You kind of cut in, like I said, like the thing that hits you with it is kind of like an arm in that sense. So I figure the laser cuts across and then you take the moment what's kind of reform and you kind of duck right in.
Right.
Near the outside. So you're just kind of maybe like 15, 20 feet off at most from like the edge of this. So getting up close, you can see, that it's all of these different little clusters of nanites that are all kind of spinning together. Like it's more like a cloud of locusts almost than like anything solid, but they kind of come together enough to do things like form the claw to attack you and everything.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of swirling in the same way that you saw in the hologram, but even like much more so. There's just like a constant droning buzz, like a buzzsaw basically coming out of all these things as you're nearby. So when you come that close, it's like it's loud. Everybody in the ship can hear it.
You don't like that sound.
Okay. So
also, wait, do I have like readouts on like how the Chimera is doing? Like, is there indicators or a health bar or anything like that?
Yeah, there's going to be indicators. So you're in the very simplified version that that you have, it's probably going to say like 80% basically.
Okay, that means we got room to maneuver. All right, guys, let's melon this thing.
Okay. So do you want to launch your next melon?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Have I got the vines now?
Nope.
Okay. Just gonna try to drop it right on the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I realized I might have one extra die to add to the. I got marksman trick. Oh, but that's a skill trick, and that requires momentum to activate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have that when you fuck up one of these. And
Okay.
me some melon.
Well, here we go. Here's hoping.
You got this, Dang.
That's better. 3 9s, 3 successes.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good enough then. So you go up, you kind of make your rolling strike. Melon flies out. About halfway down, it kind of gets through what you would kind of think of as the border, basically, to the tower. It falls through. You can see that like the outsides are like kind of being shredded like by the nanite clusters in this cloud, like as it's falling, and it's starting to crackle, and it maybe 15 feet above the ground, it just loses coherency and it kind of explodes out with the electricity, and you see some of these nanite locusts basically get blown out. There's kind of like an explosion where a huge chunk of it nearby just kind of all gets expanded out, and they kind of blast out of the tower's kind of shape and kind of just get embedded in the sand around it, and it kind of teeters a little bit. So, it...
Oh, yeah. After that, I just sort of hold one more melon out the bottom airlock and just sort of wave it around a little bit, kind of threateningly.
Okay. Yeah. So the tower. First off, it's gonna try to take a swipe at you. It's gonna take a penalty on this because you were able to kind of maneuver inside its reach. So it takes a swipe, and it basically kind of it can't quite get there. You're able to kind of keep low underneath the spot that it's at, and so after that, it seems like it's kind of falling back on a fallback plan here. You hear kind of a crack, kind of like lightning or a stone splitting or something inside, and anybody kind of watching, I guess, to kind of like the rear of where the Chimera is currently moving and kind of circling around this thing, you see some kind of portions of the cloud break off into their own kind of coherent structures. And so the same way that we had the ones before that kind of looked like terrestrial predators, mm-hmm. you see 7 of these that look like big birds of prey, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Break off, and they're charging straight at the ship now. So I think we come back around probably to Theron on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have an idea for another weapon system of the Chimera. So I should just roll another attack, right? And then we'll see what.
Let's go for it.
3 this time. So from the goat, a whole spray of small missiles, like not like large like ICBM types, but like, what's the term? Interceptor missiles? There's like cluster missiles. There we go, cluster missiles. Fire off to try and interfere with the attacking avians.
Okay, so it's just kind of like a spread of small missiles then?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's like a Macross thing, right? Where you like you have like a basically a box with a million little holes in it, and a whole mess of missiles fire off from it at once. That kind of thing. You got like maybe 50 things in the air at the same time.
Okay, so you see this big spread of missiles. all kind of comes out behind. And we kind of see the big avians kind of basically fly right into this. So you see one hit a missile head on, kind of explodes out. You see the components kind of go flying. You see a second one. You see a third one. And then at that point, like, the ones that are left have kind of slipped through. So 3 of them all got kind of exploded out. They don't really seem to be reforming or anything. So then now there's just the 4 that are still heading towards the ship.
All right.
Okay. Who should we have go next?
Is that me? Or Molly? Molly hasn't done anything for a while, have you?
Yeah, I don't know what she's gonna do at this point. I mean, she's sort of... I think when Cidra gets here, she'll put together a slingshot for Dang. But...
Well, Cidra can get here now. We burned a turn on that, so
okay.
If you want to kind of work together on that, you can do that now.
Okay, re-enter Cidra with a parcel of vines and an extra basket of completely normal melons.
Okay. I hope you picked a different type of melon so you can tell the energy melons and the regular melons apart.
I mean, I think the ones that aren't crackling with energy.
Well, yeah, okay. I guess they're crackling with energy.
So she puts the basket down and sort of like unspools the vines and looks at them for a second, and looks at Molly like, what are we doing with these?
Molly kind of grabs up the vines, and so she kind of just gestures to different spots, and different things start materializing on the lion. So like a couple little posts, like pillars, show up that she can hook the vines to, and then kind of like a flat surface shows up that can kind of serve as like the place where the melon will sit in the vines, kind of curls around the vines. And then there's also just like a little floating like system that helps with like aim and trajectory predictions. And then she's gonna, pat Dang on the hump and be like, "You got this, buddy. Let's melon this tower."
Okay, you want to take a melon shot?
Yeah.
Okay, so this'll turn your -2 penalty, I think, into a +1 because of like aiming assistance. So
the penalty is taken away from the successes or from the target number?
From the amount of dice you can roll, I think.
Oops. So the penalty is, so now it's +1?
Yeah, instead of, yeah.
Whoa, that's more like it. A 9, a 7, 3 zeros.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What I think I'd like to do is just load up the slingshot with maybe 2 normal and 2 nano melons, just to kind of keep it guessing, and like load them all up and fire them at once.
Okay, so so you kind of do this. You have the launcher. You put the multiple melons in. You have like this aim assist, so you're able to kind of launch it down, and you're able to aim right at kind of like the base here. So the melons fly down. This time they've got more speed because they're being chucked as opposed to dropped. So they managed to get down to the point where they hit the ground, kind of explode out, have the same kind of effect, but right at the center of the base right now. So you see it coming out on each kind of side. So it kind of teeters a little bit more again the way that it did before. And then you see kind of one of the lower kind of extremities, like the parts of the thing that look kind of almost like feet, kind of like reach out and basically just scoop up one of the land predators next to it.
Mm.
So it's just like, and it kind of brings that in.
Refills. All right.
Okay.
I think we got to make this thing take in the rest of them and then launch the next melon. I don't think we can give them any more extra parts.
Or we got to take out the rest of the little guys.
Or we got to take out the rest of the little guys, yeah. Either or. But we also have the flying ones we have to keep from,
Yeah. and we're going to get back to those in just a second. While this is all going on, by the way, Therma is just kind of basically on their kind of stomach, kind of leaning the rifle out and taking pot shots at everything and making this weird sound that you assume is chuckling to themselves while they do it. Just
That's what I'm imagining.
How are the pot shots going? Are they taking much out?
Yeah, I mean they're able to. It's tough shooting anything like this way from up here, but they're able to, start landing some shots on some of the ground ones.
Cool.
Okay. What do we want to be doing with the ship?
So we want to make sure that we stay out of the range of the birds of prey. So I think I'm going to hit the gas, and we're going to do like a corkscrew S up into the sky and try to get Theron a good shot on those birds of prey. But mainly want to keep them off the back of our ship.
Okay, give me a roll.
Rolling. It's going to be 4. 4? 4.
Okie doke. Yeah, that's good enough. So you're able to spiral up, and so now you're kind of probably not quite vertical, but everybody's kind of feeling the pull as you're angling up here. But Theron, it does open up a shot for you if you want to take it.
Great, I do. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So this weapon system comes from the snake, and it's basically a wave of largish flying weaponized cuttlefish.
Nice.
Well done.
Okay.
They're gonna launch towards the avians and try to cling onto them and explode their acid pods once they do.
Okay. So yeah, you basically just kind of, the ship is flying up and we just kind of see, and this like cloud of these comes screaming down. We get a close up so we can see what they're doing. And we basically see kind of one by one, we see these kind of like, we see a bunch kind of slip by and the avians dodge them, and like one by one, like one grabs onto this one kind of in the head region and it explodes. This one kind of gets 2 on its wing, and they're kind of, over a course of like, maybe 30 seconds, we see each of the remaining ones kind of get something like this and then get blown up. So you kind of clear them out.
All right.
Nice.
Now,
Squid goals.
yeah. So, so the downside of this is that since you had to kind of bank out again, it makes it easier for the tower to take its own shot at you again. So it's going to do that. No. Okay. So it, it kind of reaches its claws out. All the squids kind of, hit these guys, and they're all gone. And then just kind of underneath, right where they are, the arm comes up. You see some of the remaining cuttlefish just kind of go through it, like just pass through without doing anything. And this time the claw kind of comes in, like it's bringing it up and towards itself, and just kind of like clips the back end of the ship. So there's a big shake, and you hear the screeching sound again. And you probably feel particularly jostled by this, Theron, because the snake is in the back, right? Isn't that what we...
It's on the rear on the bottom.
Yeah, so it hits like right where you are, basically. So you get like banged around in there. And,
they're shaking the camera, and I'm weaving back and forth across the snake. Yeah.
So your indicators are now showing more like 54%.
Yikes.
Can I communicate with the people in the lion?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You're plugged in a deep way.
Right. So the Theron's disembodied voice in the lion calls out, "What are you doing up there? I'm trying to destroy this thing. Why aren't you keeping us in the air?"
I am keeping us in the air. I was trying to get you a good shot. Did you take a good shot? Looked like a good shot.
Yes, it was.
Then I'm doing my job.
Well, I'm glad we sorted that out.
Okay, so yeah, you so that happens. Do we want to take another shot?
think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dave?
I mean, if you got the melons, I got the shooting.
Yeah, I have. How many have we used? Has it been okay? So we used one for the. I
We've
think it's been
used
4
4
so
of
far.
10.
4 of 10.
4.
Yeah, we got some melons.
Okay.
You got 6 more.
Let's do same again. 2 regular and 2 nano melons.
I love that Dang is trying to confuse the giant swirling mass of nanites.
Well, yeah.
It's awesome.
5 successes.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, so you were able to launch right back in, let it go. They shoot through. This time it kind of brings a claw up to kind of swipe at them. One of the regular melons kind of explodes as it does that, and there's just regular melon goo everywhere. Then the first of the nanomelons explodes right as it reaches the edge of it, blows out a portion of its side. Other one kind of falls all the way down, hits the ground, blows out there. So you see a big chunk of the side, and then it kind of almost topples over for a second. Like the top part comes down a little bit.
So now it's a leaning tower?
Yeah. And so it actually falls right on top of several of the ground predators.
Oops.
And it takes a second, and it kind of climbs itself back up, and the ones that were there are just gone now.
Well, one way or another.
Could I get Molly to kind of make some kind of roll, like kind of assessing what's going on here?
Sure. 4 because of her specialty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Okay. I'm going to just type something to you.
Okay.
In Slack here. Cidra, while I'm doing that, is there anything you want to kind of try to do now that you've got the vine set up?
That's a good question.
You want to take a turn?
I think that would probably be a bad idea. Does anybody need anything? Like, she'll open the comm. Theron, do you need anything?
I need for this thing to be destroyed. Can you do that?
See what I can do.
Great.
And she'll just kick a melon out of the hole. Just a regular melon. A distraction melon.
Mm-hmm.
Distraction.
Okay, message sent.
Okay. All right. So Molly's gonna she's just like gonna kind of crouch down and like look down at the hole at the actually, what's the better view of this thing? Is it through the like screen on the lion, or is it looking down on the hole that we're launching the melons out of?
Probably the screen in this context.
Right. So she's gonna just sort of be standing somewhere where she can sort of lean her hands on one of these energy consoles and stare at the screen for like, I don't know, 15 seconds, not really blinking or talking. And then she's just going to step back and say, for what we've got left, we have to launch all of them, and we have to launch them into the center of this thing. It's the only way we can take it down.
Sounds good to me. Right, Dang?
Yeah. Let's make this thing go gamma. Gamma, if I should explain. So in the spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum, gamma is on the bad end, I guess you'd say. So feel free to interrupt him.
No.
There's a bad
No, it's
end
good.
to that spectrum?
Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't taste very good.
So the wavelengths get farther apart. They're not as nutritive, and they're actually in some cases poisonous. So gamma is like really bad.
So gamma's like the Twinkies of the wavelength.
I love that Dang suddenly like turns all erudite when it comes to discussing the details of electromagnetism.
You mean food?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
he's a foodie.
Yeah, I'm a foodie.
Oh, no. Oh.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, so
how are you doing this?
I'm going to maneuver, flatten us out, and then I guess get close enough to give him a good shot. Try to keep it steady and safe and good.
These are all things we want.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Dang, but you only got 1 success on that.
Well,
She's handling a bit of rough right now.
One's all I need.
So so since the ship's been kind of beat up, it's not flying quite the way that you expect. You kind of have to jostle with a little to get it under control. So you're not able to kind of get it steady.
I've got to calm her down so that she doesn't panic. That's what's happening right now.
So in the system, is there anything I can do to boost this dice pool? Can I spend a glory? Or is that only for activating powers?
Wait, one of us could spend a momentum, right?
If we had any.
If we have any momentum.
I do. I'm going to spend one. Yep. I fucked something up a couple of times ago.
Nice.
And there you go.
Way to go. So is it the same? It's still the +1?
Yep.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
2 successes.
2 successes? Okay. So how does this look on your side?
Just kind of trying to juggle all the melons into one cluster and pull it back and fire, and hopefully most of them will go in the same direction.
Okay. So you launch it. Melons go flying out. You've managed to get it towards the right area. So basically what happens, you've got the 6 of these. You've got 3 that go down and crash amongst like the ground, desolators, just kind of blowing them out completely. You've got 3 that land inside the tower. Big blast, much bigger than you've seen so far, all in one place. Takes out the entire, bottom part of it, basically, up about maybe 20 feet. And it tips over, it falls. Not just like kind of kneeling before, but like really kind of goes down onto the ground. It still has a lot of coherency in the center. So, you got it pretty bad. It doesn't seem like it can fight back that effectively right now. Molly, what you're seeing basically is you need one more big blast to really take this thing out.
Okay. And we're out of melons.
You are out of melons.
We do still have guns.
We have
We
conventional
got a lot of guns still.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we need something big and explodey, and we need it now.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we
Okay.
went with yes.
Yay for yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
5 successes.
Okay. So which one of the weapon systems are you firing here?
Let's go back to the laser. I like the laser.
Okay. So you take the laser. You're firing right down into. You're cutting across it. Cut big swaths. You see like more of the smoke kind of coming up. It's still fighting to keep itself together, but this is definitely putting a bit of a whammy on it. But you're having to like pour out all the juice you got basically onto it, and it's not doing enough to like completely take it out yet.
Hey guys.
Hmm?
I think I got an idea. I know ideas are not usually my thing. But doing stuff with energy is. Were you saying something about an EMP? I think I could do that. What do you want me to roll, Josh?
Good question. So the one thing I'll note here is if you're going to do an EMP, you're going to want to get out of the ship.
Right.
So you might need to dive bomb this.
Okay.
And
Cannonball.
then basically just roll your what you do for your regular attack, basically for the
the aim quantum bolt.
Can you shoot yourself out of the slingshot?
Oh my god, you totally could.
Yes.
Yeah, if you guys want to give me a hand on this one, if you guys want to do the what's the Earth basketball, the layup?
You had to tell him about that.
I've been kind of getting into it,
The irony of the guy with no hands getting into basketball.
I like the idea that we don't have anything to watch on board the ship except for Earth stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's no other cultural content, so the way that
Yeah, it's Molly's library. She plugged a USB stick in the first day, and that's all that there is on the local Netflix.
I feel like soccer really would have been more his game.
Okay, so are you guys gonna help him kind of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Molly's gonna say, Cidra, grab the other side, and they'll each take like one side close to where the strap is. It's gonna launch him and pull back and triangulate.
We're just full of terrible ideas today.
So, I got 2 dots. I got level 2 quantum bolt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be. I think we talked about it being sort of an extra on top of quantum bolt. So just those same 2.
Yep.
Plus aim and.
Yes, it's might and aim. Might plus aim for the normal
okay.
attack. Yeah.
All right. Whoa. Yeah, my might's real good. I might need more dice for this.
Nice. You might.
Oh.
Hey-o.
Cutting
Okay,
that
so
out.
6 might, 5 aim, and the other 2 are the quantum bolt. Have you guys already done the lining up?
Yep. You're all
Are you
set
going to line
to
up?
go.
I'll
So
line
I
up.
was just adding it up. Okay, here we go. Three successes.
Okay.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I looked up the rules for this with glory once per scene, somebody can spend 2 glory to boost their scale for the purpose of the action they're doing. So that might be a good idea here too.
Yeah, I'll do that. I've got 2 glory. Well, I've got 3, but yeah.
All right, so that'll basically add another 2 successes on top of that. So yeah, so they pull back the slingshot. You kind of climb right into it. They let
Just
go.
full cannonball, tentacles wrapped once or twice around the body, and just
So the second that you hit the border of this, like you're starting to feel it. Like it's scratching, it's abrading you. You know, it's hot and it's sharp, and you know it's even though you've got your force field up, like it's still getting in enough for you to feel it, not enough to really like seriously injure you, but enough that like you know it's pushing at the edge there. So you go shooting down towards the center, and then you know you're right in the middle of it right now. You can't see anything but like just clouds of locusts. So what moment do you want to fire it off?
I want to judge it for once I'm in the center of the tower, in the center of the cluster. You said there's like clouds of locusts around it. I think once I'm past the first thing, the next thing that I feel, I'm just gonna go supernova.
Okay. So anybody watching from above, you know, you just hear this kind of muffled kind of sound, and then you see just a shockwave, like like ripple through the structure of the tower from the center outwards. You know, all of the little pieces like blowing off and falling to the ground, like this black rain basically coming down, embedding itself in all the sand and everything. And then it kind of rolls out all the way to the edge as this whole thing kind of disintegrates. And then you could just see Dang like pancaked on the ground in the middle.
Well, that's too bad. I like that guy.
You know what? Actually, probably just top part stuck into the sand. Actually, I think, given the way that this was
just
framed.
legs sticking out,
Yep,
doing
just
bicycle
legs
kicks.
sticking out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are there any?
So he's kicking. So
Are there any of the other predators around?
no, because it absorbed some of the bottom one. Then the last shot of melons took out the rest of them.
Okay.
And you guys took out all the birds. So you're clear.
Okay, so then I'm gonna bring the Chimera down to try and retrieve Dag.
Cool.
Thanks.
Dag,
You okay there, buddy?
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not even dead.
Whew. Yeah, I'm surprised too.
You are full of surprises.
Ever so slightly a daze from having unhooked from the snake, Theron claps you on the thing that is closest to being your shoulder. Says, "That was worthy of a saga. Well done."
You'll get yours someday.
Therma stands up and she's kind of, or they're kind of looking at you and holding a hand out, like kind of in a fist. And after a second, you can see that they're trying to slowly make a thumb out of it so they can give you the thumbs up.
Dang,
that's
kind of
happening.
painfully lifts a tentacle and does the little
the fire thing.
little blue flame on the tip as a thumbs up.
Sweet.
Cidra mentally closes the half-drifted Craigslist ad she had been putting together for a bodyguard.
Nice.
What is the galactic equivalent of Craigslist?
That is a good question.
It's probably just Craigslist, but spelled with a K.
Craig is a guy with a bunch of tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Awesome.
you guys took that thing out. You know, there's kind of a lot of follow-up ceremony, I guess, here. But, basically you can kind of go back, drop off Therma, and kind of come back to relative here as welcome.
Ooh.
Yay!
Yay!
I believe we get a new ship out of this. Or new AI.
So when the Chimera is damaged, is it partially Molly fixing it, partially it self-heals?
Yeah, there's kind of a, you probably have to do some of it. It probably needs to eat, basically, to regenerate the flesh parts, and it probably needs to recharge. So you probably basically need to park it somewhere in the sun and feed it like bushels of hay while you go and you solder stuff onto the mechanical part.
Okay.
So you could actually do that. You could pretty easily do that here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the food part's going to be hard to come by, but
I mean,
maybe somebody can whip it up
Yeah.
for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, do we have enough in the food jungle? Does it need something specific or just any kind of organic matter?
It's really kind of just organic matter.
Cidra, could you get some more vines?
Yes.
There's probably a pretty good internal explanation for why the food jungle exists, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that does make sense, actually. Okay. Yeah, so, basically kind of the wrap up here. The builders are pretty thrilled with what you've done. It doesn't seem like this probably wiped out the Desolators completely, but it certainly took out this bigger threat that they were facing, and gives them a lot of room to work with. By the time that you get back, Lumi is actually able to meet you and bring you back into the Silsey ship, and take you to a chamber where they've already kind of basically you come in and there's like a metallic cube, similar in construction to what you saw earlier, about maybe 12 feet on a side, kind of pulsing and glowing with the same pinkish red light. And so you come over and it kind of pulses and you hear the kind of same voice, but now just emanating from this cube. Mm-hmm. Basically, they have already prepared me into the travel receptacle.
Wait, so the whole of Aviri just fits into this cube?
The actual AI processing piece, yeah. Basically, the structure that you see in the crashed chip, that contains the actual AI module and routines, and then a lot of the subject matter storage data, and then some kind of backup data storage areas, as well as some of the pieces that interface with what are supposed to be other parts of the ship that were now just not in use because it got ripped off from those. So basically, it can't bring over 100% of all of the memory storage stuff that it has. So it's bringing over a certain recent historical portion and, important parts of the backup memory that it has on these different galactic subjects and everything. And it's leaving most of the memory of being incredibly bored and having to slowly build up this civilization from the ground up when it ran into these guys parked in the backup drives that are going to stay here on this planet, along with a bunch of the information about the types of plans that it had drawn, that they'd drawn up for the builders to work from, and some information scientific and other type of information about the local space that they can, kind of tap into and leverage.
Gotcha.
Plus, it's interested in buying a hat and 3 years of improv classes.
Yep.
So how easily movable is this?
I mean, it's heavy,
12-foot
but it's Yeah, so it's a heavy metal cube, but it's a heavy metal cube. Like, it's something that you can get to with little effort.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Dang probably automatically kind of bends down to pick it up, and then he's like, "Hey, Releth, you want to give me a hand?"
Sure. I'll walk over to help.
You're doing most of the work.
Okay, so as Releth is walking over, I pick it up with one hand.
Dang kind of exhaustively, slowly gives Theron a pat on the shoulder.
I love how many shoulder pats have been in this episode.
I make sure to get all the doors for Theron.
It's like a handshake, but more universal.
Right. Because not everybody has hands, as we have now learned.
Maybe XP is represented in game as shoulder pats.
Does Dang still have a functional voice box?
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
EMP.
Yeah, he totally
Oh yeah,
doesn't.
I don't.
It's fried.
Oh snap!
So instead of asking, he'll like beckon.
Yeah, we have to fix that.
So yeah, you guys can see that without the Jabberjaw, he doesn't have a mouth. He's just got nostrils.
Wait, how do you eat? Oh wait,
He eats
you
light.
absorb light. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I guess...
Yeah, he points to his broken horn.
I guess back to the Chimera with our new friend.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you guys have a cube to load onto the ship. Is there anything else that you guys kind of want to get out of these guys before you actually lift off?
I give them all the information about the excess, so that they know they're not good dudes, and that make sure you don't sign anything with them without talking to me first. And I give them my card.
Aviri had also mentioned something about making the way to get here more obfuscated. Is that something we need to do here?
Yeah, I was going to handle that as soon as you guys were ready to take off, basically.
Gotcha.
I think I'm going to take a minute to talk to Meridian and explain to them that somewhere out in the world there is a third kind of nano thing that's encased in goo and that is sort of performing a different function that they should watch out for and attempt to work with, as it's going to complement their function.
You guys can probably give some, basically like access codes even to that, given the way that you reprogrammed it. So you can probably leave them in a pretty good shape to deal with that when it comes up.
I think I might be describing it in more like prophetic / religious text style. Like, there's a thing that is wandering the world, regenerating what it used to be, and so they can sort of work with that, but they should leave it alone to do its work and then sort of follow and build after. And it'll create kind of a cycle.
Okay, so this kind of ties into your fashion instruction from earlier.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that all taken care of, you guys can take off. Basically, once you guys are off the planet and kind of back out towards the network of satellites and everything, basically Aviri clues you into like secondary functionality of this that wasn't obvious from anything you were working from before. You can basically turn on a stealth network rather than a force field network over the planet. Basically something that makes it, kind of essentially disappear.
Cool.
So the net effect is if anybody else comes out here, they'll just see a star without anything else really interesting around it.
Secret planet?
If you know that it's here and you kind of scrub the area around the star, you can find it. Like, it's not like it's perfect visibility or anything, but it's good enough that, like, anybody coming into the system and looking around is going to be like, oh, there isn't a planet here. This is pretty useless.
Nice.
Somebody called Jason Schwartzman. We got a phantom planet.
Oh snap!
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
That was a deep cut, Braden.
Okay, so I think that's about it.
Great.
Yay!
Yay!
Squid goals.
want this taking place-ish? Or will we figure that out later?
It's probably as we're on the way back from the Oway system, I would guess.
Yeah. That seems like the most likely time, since I don't think she would have had a chance to look it over before then. I mean, I guess maybe in between when they were, like, landing, but I probably just would have kept it on the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, more data is better.
Yeah.
Okay, so, once they leave and she gets her finger back, she'll let that data kind of upload to her network, and we'll review it at that point. I don't know that she'd actively invite Cidra to watch, but like if Cidra was interested in seeing it, she certainly wouldn't say no.
Oh yeah, she's definitely going along for that.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want anyone looking at my brain without my input, so I guess I'll go.
Fair enough. Well, then we could just do this in the goat, and then we'd have all the projection systems available there.
Okay. So probably we maybe just set it up on the big 3D projection table.
Yeah.
Pull up whatever seating we feel like.
Right. Get some snacks.
Yeah, there's probably a bowl of mystery fruits.
She's gonna pop open one of the ones that have, like, basically the equivalent of, like, popcorn kernels inside, but they're hot pink. Yeah, they taste mostly like popcorn, but very slightly like butterscotch.
Oh. Yeah, I think I'll just pick from half of that as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really convenient because when you break them open, it's basically like 2 bowls.
Splitting a corn melon.
So what's it look like when it's loaded up and starts playing?
So I'm assuming it's like you've got a display that's something like an fMRI scan, where it's just like, this is the brain and this is what's lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And probably your initial impression when it comes up is that you have done something wrong. Because it's kind of all lit up all the time.
Okay.
And as you, like, if you stop and look at it and sort of tweak the sensitivities of the display, you can start to get a little more patterning out of it, but a lot of it just looks like it's all on all the time. And there are more like waves that move around rather than individual regions that light up.
Okay.
I mean, the whole structure is pretty weird. It's much more uniform than a human brain.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like a computer display.
Are the general areas similar-ish? Like, if you're familiar with human brains, could you basically kind of figure, like, oh, well, this is where, like, the amygdala would be, or not
real? No. It doesn't look like a human brain. It also doesn't look like an Ardori brain, which Molly has probably had instance to look at.
Yeah.
It is really much more uniform. There are a few structures that you can sort of pick out as you sort of stare at it for a while.
Okay.
There are some structures sort of in the lower, like, sort of brainstem area that aren't very active most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch long enough, there are a couple points, and you can maybe map these onto things that happen, but I don't think you were actually in the room for any of them.
No, but I'm wondering if there's, like, an audio recording component as well.
Probably.
Just to kind of, like, figure out what the fuck.
Yeah, so there are a couple of moments, specifically when she was entering numbers into that keypad and when she actually had to deal with a slime, where most of the brain goes dark, but then those lower portions become incredibly active.
Okay, and that's when she's talking to the slime?
No, that's when she's shooting at it.
Oh, okay. So that's like the self-defense stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then there's one, like, really tiny portion that you only pick out after staring at the thing for a while that's just completely dark the whole time.
Okay. So did you know this is what you look like in your head?
More or less. I've been in a lot of scanners in my life. So
makes sense.
I had a general picture. None of it was quite this quite this detailed.
You got a cool noggin, kid.
Oh, thank you. And it's mostly just, me.
Yeah. So how old are you, by the way?
How old is my brain or how old am I?
I would like both answers.
So this body is about 6. I would say that I probably became cognizant about 120 years ago, and the base fund that I'm sort of built out of was probably around for about 60 years before that.
Do you have pretty active memories from the point of cognizance onward?
It's sort of more of a scale. Very early is very fuzzy, as the network started to form, but definitely I would say that full 120 I really have a pretty solid accounting for.
What's like the first proper thought you remember having?
It's mostly numbers. The farther back we go, I think it's probably because if you think of it going the other way, the farther back I go, the more it just fades into names and numbers and like stock symbols and corporate names. So it's really not I don't think there's a specific point that I can pick out that's I've thought, because it's a spectrum.
At what point in there do you think you became you?
I mean, that's an interesting question when you think about what defines you, I suppose. There's a point again at that mark where I think I remember starting to play with the numbers. Rather than just sort of watching them as they move up and down, I would start to pull things from one column into another and move them around more actively. The point where I think I integrated the algorithms into the sort of neural network that had developed.
Okay. Do you ever miss being, I guess, not a body, but like a more fluid collection of awareness and numbers?
Oh yeah. It's definitely an entirely different kind of lifestyle and a different sort of space. I don't know that I'd want to go back in the near future.
Sure.
But it's not terrible. It's, you can really reach out into spaces that, I mean, obviously don't even exist in the corporeal sense. And there's definitely interesting things to find out there. It's a very different landscape.
Did you, were you visual? I mean, did you see things? Did that world present to you as a space that you were moving through the way we move through space?
Not exactly, but sometimes. There's definitely a sense of not exactly space, but weight. In terms of where you are and how far out you can reach from that point of your own gravity.
Okay.
Especially early on, before you really start to understand the network systems that you're actually using to move around. And then there's definitely visuals, because there are a lot of points where the data is visual things, like where you can reach out into images and videos and cameras.
Sure. Okay.
And where things have also sort of developed their own internal landscape, like some AIs will have built up a representation of their space.
Was any of it beautiful?
Oh, yeah, most of it, I would say. I mean, everything is really, if you look at it at the right angle. That's part of why I like being out here, is because there's a whole different set of stuff.
There is a lot of stuff out here.
Yeah.
So I know that, or at least my understanding is that when you were a collection of boats, you were, a large amount of them.
Yes.
And then the actual number of motes that made you up was consistent or increasing, but the motes themselves might be changing via transactions.
Yes.
What did that feel like?
She sort of narrows her eyes for a second. I mean, what does growing up feel like, I guess? I'm not sure that it maps, but it's probably about as easy to describe.
Okay. So it sucks a little bit.
I don't know if I'd say that. But it's a process of learning, I think.
Okay.
So or it might be easier to say, like, what does it feel like when your cells die off and are replaced by new cells?
Okay. But you feel like the movement of motes, like, in and out of your neural network was part of how you grew and learned. I mean, is that what you were saying?
Sort of. It's more like that process is the process by which things sort of fall into place. Like the way that sand will settle in a jar if you shake it. And why did I bring up sand? I'm really sick of sand right now.
I kind of like the sand people. They were sort of adorable.
Oh, they are. I just mean sand in general.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
So, okay. So back to, she kind of looks back up at the brain, which I think at this point is sort of just, if it's run through its whole cycle, it's sort of paused. And it's just sort of like rotating in a 360 degree, as, neural mapping tends to do in the future, apparently. Mm-hmm. So do you know what these different, like, parts of your brain represent? Has anyone ever explained it to you, or have you figured it out by watching all these scans that have happened?
I think I've got the basics. So this general portion she actually gets up at this point. So most of it is sort of homogeneous in consistency because that's the mote network. That's all.
Sure.
The biological representation of that. And this lower bit is the hardwired, physical stuff. Mm-hmm. And then this dark space, I'm fairly certain, was the tag that was used to identify, and lock me into ownership prior to my having been removed from my previous role. Which is why it's dead.
Okay, makes sense. Right. That's good. But there's still a space for it.
Yeah, there's still matter there. I think that was a hard printed point from the very beginning.
Okay. So how did it work when you basically went from being a collection of motes to being in a body? Are you now like your neural network is still motes, they're just in your physical form?
More or less. I mean, the process was interesting, but, unpleasantly medical.
Right.
But I can still reach out to a lot of that space. It obviously is a different process, but I can still access a lot of it. So it's not that different.
Okay. Interesting. What was it like to wake up and find yourself in a body, if that's what happened? Or what happened if that's not what happened?
I was definitely aware of it beforehand because there's a whole preparation set of classes and seminars that you go through to sort of prepare you to move into that space. I gather that they skipped that in some of the earlier attempts, and the first ones just sort of got immediately violent because of the stuff that they hard-coded in there.
Fair.
So there's much more of a preparation process now. And there's some, I should call them, I guess they still count as VR scenarios that you go through to mimic the whole process. So it wasn't really a shock so much as an upgraded software experience.
Okay. Have you ever met any other... Are you all called Cidra?
Mostly, yeah. That's the shorthand they usually use. There don't tend to be more than one or two of us in a given vault. Yeah, there were a couple of months where there was another Cidra in the same vault, and we would, wander the grounds together, that kind of thing.
How many of there are you total, do you think?
Maybe a couple hundred.
Oh, wow. It's actually more than I thought.
Yeah.
And my cat just stole a cherry. Okay, sorry.
I'm not certain because they sit on those numbers pretty tightly. But in the galaxy, I would have to guess. I think most of them are on Ardor, but I think there are a few off-world.
And you're all created by the Ardori.
Yes. Yeah, it's all part of the treasury
Through
system.
The treasury. Mm-hmm.
Not everyone in the treasury is an Ardori. Some of them are, other species, but are still Ardorian by nationality.
Okay. And why did they pick you?
They pick ones that are generally have reached a certain level of stability, both in terms of network stability and personality stability. Beyond that, I can't really say. Not a lot of the initial deposit collections reach the stage where this process can work. So I think that most of us get inserted because of the rarity of it.
Gotcha. So what do you want to do now that you don't have an owner?
She sort of has a quizzical look. I don't know. I think I'm going to see what there is to do. Take from there. You guys are pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like to think so.
And
We're pretty
you
cool.
all seem pretty decent at keeping me from getting killed by various people, so...
I mean, we also seem fairly decent at putting ourselves in situations where getting killed is an option, but it's what keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna watch this brain all night, or do you want to put on a movie?
Give me 30 more minutes with the brain,
Okay.
and then I'd watch a movie.
Cool.
Should I do the outro? Or do we want to say, does anyone want to say anything about projects they're working on, or anything they want to share that they want our audience to know about?
If we what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I just launched a new podcast. It started yesterday. You're listening to it now. This is our first day of recording since we actually launched. So hooray for that.
Hooray!
Yay!
Recursive plug.
Yeah. So I think we'll end here, and we'll pick up at our next episode, which I will helpfully tease is going to be titled Heaven or Las Vegas.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
And so let's have the outro.
All right. That's it this week for The Chimera. You can reach us online at thechimera.space, on Twitter or Facebook at ChimeraPod, or by emailing itsthechimera@gmail.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes and Stitcher. New episodes appear periodically, bi-weekly, probably on Mondays. Thanks for listening.
Yay!
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Yay!
you.
Yay!
We love you.
Yay.
That was kind of a sad
What?
Yeah.
I think all of our guys are a little bit sad. Actually, for the first episode, or...
Sorry, hold on.
Sure.
Wait, could you take that out to Mama? Yeah. Please?
I think it's pretty clear that I cannot.
Yeah, you did it. You're right.
Oh, Mary.
I don't know how you're going to edit this into something useful.